Led by various ideologies and greed, empires of men feel the threat emanating from each other and conduct ongoing intergalactic wars. United in zero space, the universe trembles with epic battles of human nations. Nations that would never have been able to discover each other are connected in one time, thanks to the sacred technologies of common founders. The future, as the past, is unclear. Elusive hope for peace is in the hands of the lords and kings, and only in fairy tales and ancient legends that parents tell their children to pass the time, the story from the distant past comes to life. In very ancient times, in one lost world, there was a boy who saw the same dream every night when darkness came down on the serene city. Cities, mountains, rivers, clouds, and all that were loved by the child disappeared behind a line approaching the horizon. Inevitable approximation of the unknown. Time after time scared him more and more until the dream turned into a nightmare. The world melted in his eyes, and a presentiment of impending threat changed the boy and the future of mankind. Was it just a dream or a revelation? The boy never knew. A child growing up, devoting all his time and subduing his life to finding evidence to support his feelings. And once he succeeded, the people had enough time to prepare for the fact that until recently seemed impossible, reality collapses, and the rate of this process denied any possible variance except one: escape. Decades have gone to prepare salvation. People have a chance to escape from certain death, and the boy who warned people in time grew old, and being a very old man, was among the last to leave his home planet. People left homeworld and settled artificial cities built around the planet, Terraloposis. Earth went from under feet as well as all that filled their minds and was so important. Saddened and frightened by the unknown future, people were resigned to a new home. The Ark of Salvation and hope became the new home. Mankind rejoiced, having gone to the edge of the visible universe, getting a chance for salvation, carrying away homeworld just as previous misconceptions. When the oceans of the planets were consumed as fuel, fading hope for salvation was bolstered by a real possibility of immortality. People were taking on a new life form, the form of Soliats. Immortal beings felt themselves gods. Memories and fantasies of Soliats eventually began to erupt into reality and inflict enormous damage to Terralopolis, claiming the lives of thousands of people. And despite the fact that the Ark engine, Hewa, consumed energy worked out by Soliats, people and Soliats unleashed a war with each other. Despite the huge loss, the people won the war and began to use the technology of immortality a totally different way. The ones who chose the path of immortality were immersed in capsules, guaranteeing the safety of people. The number of immortals and amounts of energy grew, and with it the speed of the Ark, which cut through the layers of space. Ark became overgrown with paradoxical matter called Althiorum. However, Althiorum was deadly for Soliats. It provided the ship with a new optimal shape for increasing acceleration in curved space. Ark paved its course through the stars and planets, which served as construction materials for disembodied shells for craving eternal life humans. And over time, almost all people have turned to Soliats, and Terralopolises became desolate warehouses filled with capsules. Among the hundreds of billions of Soliats, very few became creators. They created the content of virtual worlds that filled a pastime of immortals who conducted thousands of years in their own virtual dreams. Creators were inspired by the legacy of Rescue Planet, and sometimes clothed in mortal bodies, traveled in memory areas of their ancestors. Creators met face to face with the threat of the final annihilation of humanity, the threat from which people managed to escape for so long could not simply be ignored by advantage in speed, when remained zero chances to escape from the trap that stopped the existence of the universe. Creators created Rescue Mission. Volunteered creators managed to move the incredibly remote distance from the Ark. Overcoming time and space, they founded new colonies of men not covered with the effect of reality destruction. These new seeds of human race were named Descendants. And only from the Descendants depend the salvation of the Ark and all of mankind.
Hello, my name is Dmitry Generalov and I am the founder of Descendants. I would like to welcome you to our project Descendants. We are actively working on the project, fully dedicated ourselves to the development of the game. We managed to do quite a lot and now we represent the game thought out in all respects. For the first time we publicly announced the game, so it is very important for us, very exciting to hear your comments, opinions. In turn, I will sincerely share with you all the information you may need, you are interested in. The game contains a huge amount of innovations, so we start on Kickstarter only after we have found and tested the technical solutions for all innovations. Everything that will be discussed is already in development, or we know how to do it. The concept of the game, created from the beginning to end, as a unified idea. The Descendants is the MMORPG created in a new way. Not to the generic template added some new elements, but rather some typical elements added to the game of totally different kind. Our aim is to return to the player the thrilling sense of interest in the game that we all have experienced at least once, being totally immersed in the gameplay. But this precious time should not pass fruitless. That the player will get experience, draw conclusions, understand something about people. However, it is possible only if players behave naturally, as in real life. So, all opportunities in the game is not linear and give to feel the consequences of free choice. The game offers the players realization at all levels, from individual development to participation in politics, economy, and the war. And of course, that guarantees ultimate gaming experience of interaction with gaming reality and other players. And all gaming opportunities created within a unified programmatic and interface forms. And only this approach makes such variety of possibilities possible. Yet all gameplay features are brought together and integrated into the role system, so the Descendants primarily is the RPG game. We are very encouraged by the role-playing basis of the game, as well as our approach to all other components of the gameplay, such as races, classes, the strategic and tactical aspects of battles, crafting system, and the system of liability for crimes. And we will definitely devote a separate conversation to a detailed analysis of these components. But right now, I would like to tell about the main elements of the gameplay and those priorities that guide us. This is just basic information that will help you to form initial impression. Before we talk about the unique features of the game, I will describe in a few words a three-dimensional gaming space available for players' activities, just to outline the general picture. The structure of the game is as follows. The sets of galaxies united by sectors of space. Each galaxy has several habitable stellar systems. Each star system is a unified spatial unit. All the planets in the system are in the same seamless location, including the surface of planets, the interior of spaceships and buildings. In addition to the cosmos, there are three functional levels of the game space above the planet, and each has its own laws. The planet's surface, the sky of the planet, and the planet's atmosphere. Planets are very impressive in size, an average of 60 miles in circumference. The planet has indestructible core, over which lies destructible by 40 feet in depth surface of the planet. The surface is generated automatically according to the one of four types of planets and consists of land, seas, mountains, plants and animals. There are a lot of generating algorithms in the game which are intended to ensure the diversity of environment and uniqueness of each planet. That's some very important historical areas we create manually. For example, capitals of factions. Planets can be colonized and inhabited. Planet is an important multi-purpose center to which attach most of the game features and events. And also planets are interesting for research and PvE battles with wild creatures and communities of apostates. Apostates are very exciting and playable side of the gameplay that we will discuss later. Any plot of the planet can be purchased and it becomes the immutable property of the player and is used to erect buildings, mining structures, factories and so on. There is also a constructor within a space of buildings and spaceships. Almost all objects can be created according to the blueprints, and the player has a great creative freedom in crafting. All objects are influenced by simplified laws of physics and can be destroyed. Players can move freely across the universe on their own spaceships, as well as explore planets on foot or by vehicle. All game space is available for PvP battles, but there are some restrictions in the form of law enforcement system and responsibility for the crimes. Players can build cities by joint efforts. City is the basic political unit. There is also a big game among factions that fundamentally affects the entire gameplay. Only a few planets are susceptible to terraforming, and so they are the main objectives for military campaigns. I mean, massive PvP battles, a very important and core aspect of the game, and we will dedicate a separate conversation to it. All of the above concerns and describes the outer side of the game. Now I will tell about the essence of the game. And I would like to start with the most important features of the game, our aspirations and all the new things that the game offers the player. The Descendants RPG system provides players with entirely new, advanced role-playing mechanics that meets all modern requirements and even exceeds the expectations of players. This system is much deeper than it may seem at first glance. It combines the simplicity of a simulation and solution to all problems of model-dependent RPG systems. That is particularly marked in esports right now. Fundamentally different approach not only provides a new depth of battles, but also unprecedented role-based interaction of players. Depending on the goals and interests, the player can focus on self-development in a particular sphere, and any time may change his preferences thanks to multi-class opportunity. As a result, an individual gaming experience, achievements, activities, classes of player form his role in the relationships between players. Class defines a specialization of the player, while the role has social status. The player can become a king of the whole nation, or just be a lonely criminal. In any case, each role provides a specific set of capabilities. Roles are not only diverse, but also radically different from each other. Freedom is so great that every choice reflects the player's individuality and it characterizes the player. Choice offered to the player is not about selecting between red and green, go right or go left. The choice is not cosmetic. It defines the essence of the player, his personal attitude to the situation. Help or step aside, take away or leave. All game classes are neutral in general, depends only on the player if he crosses the line, exceeds his authority and so on. With access to significant opportunities, player would have done as he would do in a real life. The choice may come as a surprise and player will know something new about himself. At the same time, the high position of one player does not infringe upon the interests of other players. Everyone at his role, at his level, faces equivalent challenge, confrontation with the reverse side of his position. The multiplayer option of the game is not only in the presence of other characters on the locations and some joint activities, but in interaction between personalities of players. That opens up completely new depth of relationships. Players are completely free to choose the fate of the universe, thanks to incredibly realistic system of setting overall goals that fully integrated into everyday gameplay. With the help of a large arsenal of roles, the entire social hierarchy is lined up and players can distribute among each other the authority to establish common goals. Besides choosing between good and evil, besides determining the position in the community, everyone can choose one of 4 ways of social self-development, depending on the preferred style of play, of course. The war path, the path of creation, the power path, and the path of resistance. The higher the player's role, the bigger his impact on gaming trends and gameplay in general. There is nothing superfluous, and everything is interconnected and exists in a balance, backed up by a system of checks and balances. Each path carries out its task in the cycle of public interests and goals. Each path provokes player to communicate with other players, assuming participation in unique chains of joint activities, joint actions. Besides money, the value of which decreases with time, the paths give access to the units of influence, which reflect the real potential of players and open up completely new vistas of communication and social interaction. Players can create practically any purposes for each other, including global goals, limited only by the expediency and counteraction of opponents. All game features are implemented in convenient gaming interfaces, and joint activities do not require additional coordination via Skype or involvement of other out-of-game methods. A more detailed acquaintance with the mechanics of the game will allow you to see this. For example, the acquaintance with totally unique system of generating mutual quests, also in the form of ultimatums. RPG system brings an entirely new combat mechanics to the game in order to make each battle unique and inexhaustible in terms of game interest. One of the tasks we set for ourselves developing combat mechanics was to reflect in the usual battles of players the action scenes of modern fiction blockbusters. As a result, we succeeded in formalizing in a programming language all the variety of fighting that we used to see only in the movies. We just need time to complete and test the mechanics. And most importantly, in all of this, we managed to provide simple and intuitive controls. Combat mechanics is logical and easy to learn and offers players to focus on the highest priority moments of battle, at the same time processing a huge number of hidden internal parameters and using the maximum of modern computing power. The player sharply feels his influence on the outcome of the battle. He enjoys dynamic control of his character and the logical actions of his own NPC mercenaries, and at the same time consciously taking tactical decisions. Convenient interface allows using abilities and monitor strategic situations simultaneously, while battle animation corresponds to common sense. Next, PvE battles require a targeted approach to each opponent, most of them gathered in coordinated groups, whether it's criminal gangs expelled from the cities or swarms of ferocious predators. Anyway, no monotonous grinding and farming in the game. Victory over a strong opponent requires not only advanced character, but also the playing experience. The complexity and quality of opponents greater influence on the rate of the character development than their number. PvP battles from individual or group fights can escalate into organized armed conflicts called military campaigns. Military campaigns give players all the necessary functionality for the organization of large-scale battles of thousands of players with the support of tens of thousands NPC mercenaries. For example, an epic conquest of the star system consists of a set of simultaneous battlefields for capturing of cities, spaceships, stations, and all these battles are managed within a single strategic hierarchy of military commanders. Seamless world within the star system and separation of space over the planets into several functional levels. All that happened is a solution for fundamental element of the gameplay. Spaceships not only perform space flights but also can descend and travel along the surface of the planet. 4 of the 7 classes of ships can freely change their height above the planet, and that provides not only an incredible immersion into the atmosphere of boundless space, but also a huge number of tactical possibilities. That is, spacecraft owners not only engage in space battles but also participate in land battles for applying airstrikes, cleaning the area, airdrop and other things. In turn, during ground battles, players not only use walls, floors and roofs of buildings for tactical purposes, but also spaceships and the ability to move over land and sky and atmosphere. That provides the most vertical gameplay ever. Spaceships are created and configured by the same tools as buildings, but are able to move and can reach huge sizes. Internal space of ships and buildings can be modeled by players and filled with the necessary equipment. Presence of architectural sandbox has not only visually cosmetic purposes, but primarily has a practical use for economic, political and military objectives. Modeling of space has absolutely applied nature and is based on the player's experience and understanding of the gameplay. Creation of a balanced, advanced environment is as important as a character development. Everything in the game, classes and roles, relationships of players, technologies, gaming objectives and achievements, all caused by the realities of the universe. Stories, characters, fantastic and dramatic conceptions that player will meet are at the same as in a good movie. Descendants live in the last times, and in front of them are all lessons of human history. Everything conceivable already occurred. On the one hand, they live in a constant interaction with mysterious ancestors located in a distant past. On the other hand, are face to face with the threat of total annihilation of the three-dimensional reality itself, and in the era of absolute knowledge, and technology, when not so many stars still continue to burn. Each nation, each game faction independently determines with its own system of values and try to find a way to salvation. All races are unique and do not resemble races from any other fantasy or fiction universe. Totally new realistic concepts of post-futuristic nations with distinctive history, technologies, mentality, and so on. We are very attentive to details. We do not want players to face contradictions, inconsistencies, and evident irrationality. All dialogues and all situations are relevant to the overall picture of what is happening. All opportunities offered to players completely correspond to the reality of the Descendants universe. No far-fetched roles or superfluous classes invented by accident. Game mechanics and story created simultaneously and fully comply and supplement each other. All stories and characters, ambiguous situations have a dramatic depth, and that helps to immerse into the special atmosphere of the Descendants. Moreover, story of the game comes from the modern scientific knowledge and historical experience of mankind, so players find themselves in a completely new science fiction setting, but do not doubt the realism of the events. All game elements are independent in nature, but are designed with one main goal and integrated into the role system. We want the game Descendants to immerse the player in the state of absolute freedom. By freedom we mean not only selection from a set of alternatives, paths and possibilities, but also the opportunity to refuse the right of choice. The player can choose not to participate in the game relationships, violate or ignore all rules and regulations, and do whatever he wants. Or even stop acting at all, but game will not stop with the player and will continue to influence him, even if the player abandons self-development and will observe rise and fall of other players. Unlimited freedom is inseparable from the consequences and responsibility. Sometimes it would be better not to do something, to avoid actions, to evade from the use of possibilities, since favorable at first glance situation can be dangerous. Players will have to decide what to do with their choice, the freedom to do something or the freedom not to do something, to resist temptation. In contrast to the insured property that a player cannot lose forever, all the social mechanics based on statuses that the player can achieve or lose. This approach completely releases the game from scripted linearity and brings the immutable laws of reality into the gameplay. Nevertheless, the player will be constantly accompanied with tips and links to the consequences of certain actions in order not to get lost in the fullness of his freedom. Therefore, despite our predictions and calculations, we cannot say exactly what will happen to the world of Descendants, under the influence of players, of course. However, we definitely can guarantee that every connection to the game can become a unique adventure. You will plan PvE raid, but because of force majeure. You can be at the center of planetary invasion and become a member of hostilities. And ordinary battle with mobs will turn into a rescue mission from under fire. In addition to the three-dimensional gaming space, cosmos, planets, buildings, ships, a large number of gaming opportunities are reflected exceptionally in the interface in pretty simple and understandable forms. Voting, decision-making according to the issues of player's role, the interaction within communities, auctions, crafting, economy, and so on. It's due to the thoughtful interface we manage to provide the players with so much social opportunities. However, some issues of the game mechanics cannot be solved only through the interface. In many cases we had to create our own technical solution. before adding a certain element to the overall concept of the game mechanics, we test it. Therefore, only if we know how to implement some aspect, we are talking about it. We use the Unity 3D engine, and we are seriously working on optimization of the game. We are quite familiar with that engine, and it initially provides us with lots of ready-made solutions. In addition, we are satisfied with its physics and multi-platform capabilities, which allows us to provide access to the game in the browser. It will be convenient for the gameplay, assuming no frequent change of locations. But of course, playing without lags requires client installation. And the most important thing, Unity allows us, instead of spending time dealing with routine tasks, to implement our own technical solutions by adding custom scripts and modules. Our service solution based on the Photon Unity networking technology and allows us to provide battles involving thousands of players within the military campaigns. The whole gameplay is originally designed to take advantage of the huge number of hidden calculations. Therefore, the game requires on average 3 times more server processing power compared with the typical MMORPG. This problem is perfectly solved using cloud technologies, but it inevitably assumes membership fee, where the most of that subscription fee will go to pay the costs of servers. In general, we do not believe in good content under free-to-play mode. In addition, many other technical aspects and decisions will be discussed in updates. Moreover, you will see that what at first glance seems very challenging has its solution and a concrete implementation in our general plan of game creation. We have several alternative solutions for a variety of issues, and we count on your vote to determine the ideal option. Summarizing, we can say the following. Players affect the setting of global goals for factions and communities of players, interacting with each other through political interfaces, thereby guiding the general gameplay. Economy, crafting, resource extraction give the opportunity to create the material basis for the implementation of those goals. Planets, cities, spaceships, besides the main purpose, also serve as extensive customizable arenas for regular battles. Players chasing personal goals can always become participants of a big game and contribute to the common cause. In addition, if an individual character development is theoretically limited, the social development practically inexhaustible in terms of game interest. Gameplay constantly puts every player, regardless of his role and position, in the need to make choices, which affect the player's reputation and lead to certain consequences. Players determine everything, and it does not harm interests of others. Descendants is primarily an RPG game, but some classes give access to tactical and strategic part of the game. Players of MMORPGs have different motivations and types of behavior, and regardless of the path, all players will not feel slighted and will have fun at any level and stage of the game. World of Descendants not only managed by the players, but also exists as an interconnected system of events. Every action has consequences, not as cause and effect, but as event in a general trend. Players can destroy the universe up to restart of the server, or to fill it with the fruits of their labor. We want to inspire people to interact with each other. The game as an excuse to talk with friends, to remember something, discuss it, smile. Despite the seriousness of what is happening, sometimes darkness and coldness of certain plot elements, the game is about the triumph of good and humanity, prevailing against the cold and dark void of space. Descendants is a sci-fi universe, but space battles and ships, it's just a part of the game. In the first place, control the character from the third person, who's seeking his way in the vast world, in the vast universe. Most of the time, Players spend shackled in impenetrable spacesuits, and only inside the spaceships and planetary buildings use ordinary clothes. Open multi-level game world composed of large planets, space stations, and ships, which are constantly shaken by epic battles. The Descendants is a game that has a strong, dramatic, event-driven basis, detailed world. For billions of years, humankind alone stands in front of the threat of total disappearance of matter as such. Everyone should make choice for himself. All scenarios were implemented. All that could occur happened. All the lessons of history before their eyes. But to decide where the good and where the evil still is difficult. Technologies provide people with all the necessary and determine the way of life. Energy in excess. Descendants can create anything except for the matter, so rare resources are the main value. Factions of Descendants scattered throughout parts of the universe, unaffected by disaster, they fight among themselves, often forgetting about the fact that this war is between life and death. Players are given every opportunity and means to set a goal and to determine the way to achieve it. A multitude of temptations, lots of distractions. Everyone will be able to be himself, making the choice. Betray or not to betray, to escape or to be a hero. Make a deal with conscience or to achieve aim by labor. The game designed in a way that each player's decision indicative of his personality, his priorities. And we want player to feel being surrounded by real people. And the conclusions about the other players that he will make equal to the impression that he might form in a real life. On the one hand, all the freedom, all the opportunities that players receive provide great fun. And on the other hand, even more important, the game stops being just pastime. Time spent in the game is not useless. The experience learned from a variety of different game situations will be similar to the experience from real life. Good graphics and pretty images may make us to buy and install the game, but only good, honest content may become the basis for long-term immersion in the game world. And everything we do is based on that fundamental priority. Almost all the standard elements of games have been revised to put a certain meaning in every action, in every object, in every minute. The game Descendants is a unique event that can bring back extant in the memory the same game interest that in former times accompanied the acquaintance with a new game. The experience gained in the game can be useful in the real life, because the Descendants are a huge ground for quite unpredictable social interactions with real personalities of players. Frequency of different situations, a constant source of topics for discussion with friends and personal conclusions. Be part of it. Help us make a game that we all want to see for so long. The game Descendants gives to its founders as much as no other game can give. If you are looking for advanced RPG system, epic battles, and incredible freedom of choice, and customizable objects and ambience, the Descendants is exactly what you are looking for. I apologize for such a long entry. It was general outline, and I suggest you to familiarize with the materials of the game, to find answers and questions, and go deeper into special mood of Descendants. In conclusion, I would like to say the following. We watchful and attentive to all phases and elements of the game. If we are not excited about something, we simply will not do it. We know exactly what kind of game the Descendants should be as a result. But the huge array of questions we will decide through votes on our website to create a truly demanded game. We will make every effort to establish interactive relationships with bakers, and that is our principal position. Our main priority is the content rather than form. So we are very attentive to each element of the game, and we ask ourselves why we need it and what it will give to the players. We want the game to be liked not only by fans of space simulators, but also by all lovers of fantasy and RPG games. So we try to make a game attractive and fascinating in all respects. Thank you. See you in a game.